Hey guys, it's Brianna here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. Today I thought it'd be really fun to bring you week 6 of Scream for Romance, and this is sharing all of my paranormal / monster romances. I have a few on this list. I wish I had more to recommend, and paranormal is my first love, so I'm really surprised that I really don't have many more recommendations to add. I know I'm probably going to be missing some, but I love all of these books, so I highly recommend them. So let's go ahead and jump into these recommendations. So before I say that, I do want to quickly add, this is a challenge that I have started with a few of my friends on Bookstagram. I reached out to them having this idea to just talk about different spooky romances based off of, you know, whatever the prompt happens to be. Like this week is paranormal, last week was mafias. So if you're interested in seeing the past few weeks of the last 5 weeks, I'll put those in the description. Also, please go check out my Bookstagram. I put a highlight reel, whatever you want to call it, highlight on my bio. I actually have to have 2, probably at this time, maybe 3 different little, what's it called? Story highlights. They have a little skull on them with a light, like a darker pink background. So if you're curious, those are the 2. So let's go ahead and jump into these recommendations. I have a few of them in paperback, a few of them I'm gonna have to put the cover up. We'll make it work, and it'll be a great time. So first up, I'm gonna recommend a very light-hearted one that I feel like is very perfect. Anybody can read it and enjoy it. It's not like you need to like search up triggers. I don't think there's any, honestly, because it's such a light-hearted, quick read. I'm talking about Muscles and Monsters by Ashley Bennett. This is such a cute monster romance. We follow our heroine, who I think just opened up a bakery, and then we have our hero, who is very clearly a wolf, and he has a gym that they're like right next to each other. And he comes in, I think, wanting to, you know, like get a cupcake or something, and then she walks into the gym, something along those lines. And they basically come up with like a deal like, hey, I'll help train you if you do this, blah, blah. And it's just, oh my God, it's so freaking cute. Highly recommend it. It's very short. Like I said, it's like technically a novella. The second book, which is Tentacles and Typhoons or something like that, it's supposed to be coming out soon, and I'm so excited about it because the cover is super cute too. And I'm very excited to read more from this author. So this is up first on my recommendation list, and definitely the one that doesn't have really any triggers and very lighthearted, so anybody can read it. Next up, I have a vampire romance, and I hear literally nobody talk about this. I'm talking about Fatal Harmony by Anne Malcolm. This is I think it's considered a trilogy. I think there's more books after that, but I kind of just stopped because I felt like I got enough from the series that I didn't feel I needed to continue on, because I had a feeling I probably wasn't going to like them. Who knows? But basically, from what I remember of this series, she's been around for a very long time, like a few hundred years. She's seen like the changes in humans and how we've adapted, how we've changed, how kind of dumb we are, basically. And she is told by like the king of like the vampires, because they have a monarchy, that she needs to go do this like job, I think, to like kill somebody. And it happens to be the hero that we are introduced to. I think I might be totally wrong. It's been a while since I've read this book, but I just remember the heroine is absolutely hilarious. And that's kind of why I always think of this book, because it was a character that really stood out to me. She was absolutely hilarious. And I just really liked this book, and I need more people to read it because this deserves more hype than it gets. And plus the cover is absolutely stunning. Like, it's beautiful. So recommend that book. Next up, I have another paranormal. This is a book that I feel like everybody talks about, and it's literally perfect for spooky season. I read it last year for spooky season. I'll talk about Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue. I don't know why. Every time I stumble on saying her name, I don't know why. This is basically where our heroine moves into this town where there's a lot of like, what's the word, like supernatural things going on. Is kind of like a hot spot for all of these paranormal beings to be. It's kind of like Salem, if you want to think about it that way. But our heroine moves into this town and she's very curious, and I'm almost positive she's like a witch or something. I could totally be wrong. Like I said, I read it last year. I could be confusing it with other books, which is totally possible, but I'll stick to what I definitely know. So I'm not sure on that one. Our hero, when they are introduced, he's like a security guard at this like museum or something like that. And he is not very nice to her. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. You know, I won't come back. I'm really sorry, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out he's actually a demon. And the way this world works is there's this group of people doing all these bad things in this town. People are showing up missing or dead, and they're basically doing these rituals. And when they summon a demon, he's the one to pop up. And it becomes a story between them. The second book, which is on my spooky TBR, is following the friends of the books that are, or the characters that are in here. So I'm really excited about it. This is literally perfect for spooky season. I think I have like 2 more books that are perfect for spooky season specifically, that have like what you're looking for in Halloween vibes. That literally, this book, it is so good. The atmosphere, 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Next up, I have a book that I don't have a copy of. I'm actually going to recommend 2. One is Stalked by the Kraken by Lillian Lark, and then followed by Deceived by the Gargoyles. So obviously book 1, Stalked by a Kraken, literally follows a kraken and stalking. I will say the stalking is very light. It's not like a prevalent topic. For example, if you've heard or have read Haunting Adeline, that is legit stalking. Like, that's all the main trope of the book. This one is very light on the stalking, and it's done by the heroine in the beginning of the book, trying to learn about the hero. He is very clearly a shapeshifter to a kraken, and I really enjoyed it. It was one of those books that I did when I tried out Monster Romances. If you want to see that video, I'll put it in the description or up here in the cards, wherever they fall. I never know. Anyway, this one's really good. I highly recommend it. Book 2 is a Why Choose, very clearly about gargoyles. I think there's 3 men, maybe 4. I don't remember. But they're all gargoyles, and they have a relationship with each other. That's just how their clan works. And they want to add a female into their group, and that's where our heroine comes in. And I think she's a plus size heroine, which is absolutely amazing. I love this book. Out of the 2, this was my favorite. I devoured it. I love this book. I love this author. I cannot wait to read more from her because her writing is absolutely beautiful. These are definitely not that dark in my opinion, but that's totally subjective. What I think is dark may be very dark to somebody else, but in my opinion, these are really not that dark, like really at all. They're very light, dark romance, if that makes sense. So I would definitely recommend these for anybody because it's not like super dark compared to some books that I've read. So next up, I have another book that I do not own a copy of, which kind of follows the realm of monster romance. I'm talking about Morning Glory Milking Farm by Sam Nacosta. Now, hear me out, please. Hear me out. I know the cover says differently and it sounds weird. Okay. Take my word for it. Please go read it. It's a great time. The premise of this book is freaking weird. It is literally, you can imagine, think of like milking cows, but make it sexual, but not with cows. And yeah. I know that sounds so weird, but it's actually a really good book. Just please go read it. You'll understand once you've read it. Like I said, it has the most bizarre premise and the most strange premise in the world. But I think that's why it is so unique, because it's weird. But please go read it. It's so good. It is so interesting, and it'll keep you reading. I promise you. I promise. Next up, I have one of my favorite books. I love this book. Talk about Satan's Affair by H.D. Carlton. This is technically the prequel to Haunting Adeline. You don't have to read it to dive into Haunting Adeline. However, I recommend reading this before you dive into the second book, which is Haunting Adeline, because our main character, Sibby, does play a pretty big role in book 2, so you need to understand who she is and like her storyline before you can really get into book 2. So either read this before you dive into the series like I did, or read it in between the 2 books. So basically we follow Sibby, and she works in this like circus, like a traveling circus, obviously around Halloween, that does like these haunted houses. But basically the premise behind this is the reason why she dresses up like a doll. And so her job while she's doing these is to basically sniff out the evil people. To her, if somebody is truly evil, they give off like this really like rotting, like gross smell. And that's when she kind of knows like, hey, I can go kill this person because they're not a good person. Generally, people who are like truly good people, they have more of like a floral, nice scent to them. And this is a wide choose, so we have our henchmen that kind of like help do the killing, and they are very interesting people, and it's just a wild ride. It's a novella. From my understanding, and I really hope this is true, she's supposed to be getting a full-length book, and I'm freaking out because I love this book. It is legit the perfect spooky read. Please go read it. Please, please, please. All right, I have 3 more on my list. I have 1 more of a physical copy that I do own, and I'm talking about A Lady of Rosgrave Manor by Catherine Moon. This is a why choose monster romance that basically follows our heroine who goes to this like, what's it called? Like an, I guess like an escort type service, I guess. I never really know how to like describe it, but basically it's kind of that situation. But she can say no to anybody. Like, it's not like a, you have to go, you know, do this and this with this person. No, she's allowed to choose, and it's actually like benefiting both the person that she's with and herself. I think there's like 5 or 6 people that is in this relationship with her, and it's a wild ride. It's so much fun. I have the sequel, which I think follows one of her friends or like somebody else in this world, and it's on my TBR. That makes absolutely no sense, but yeah, I have this book on my TBR as well. Next up, I have a series that I am still currently trying to get through. These books are freaking massive. This author duet, I don't know how to, they always write together, and they don't write small books. Their books are very chunky. I am talking about The Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac by Carolyn Peckham and Susan Valenti. I am on book 3, so I'm about halfway almost through the series. The first book is called Dark Fae. It's very clear what this series follows. This is a why choose series that follows characters that are really obviously based off zodiac signs. I don't remember because it's been a couple months since I read book 2, but I think there's 3 or 4 men in this group, and it's just a really fun time reading these. And I really need to dive into book 3 and actually finish the series because, like I said, it's really good. I know most people, when they think of these authors, they think of the Zodiac Academy, which is, I think this series is kind of like a spin-off or like the prequel to Zodiac Academy. I could be wrong. My last recommendation, I cannot remember the title of it. It's something like Black Sunshine. This is by Karina Halley. This is a vampire duet. I have not read book 2 at this point. I'm gonna have to go back and reread book 1 to jump into book 2. I do know it did end in a cliffhanger. I think at the time I did the audiobook, and I think either book 2 had just come out or the audiobook wasn't out yet for book 2, so I just wasn't able to continue. So at this point, since I read it last year, I'm definitely gonna have to reread book 1 to dive into book 2. This has a very interesting concept, but it is a captive situation. Our heroine, I think, knows she's a vampire, or like finds out she's actually a vampire, like she didn't know that. That's right, because the hero captures her because she's about to go through her change into being a vampire, and it's kind of their story, and it's absolutely crazy. I really enjoyed it. I love Karina Halley. I've read most of her like contemporary romances. I know she has another series that's been out for a really long time. It has like a lighthouse on it. and I am completely blanking on that, but I think that's another like paranormal series that she has out, or maybe like a sci-fi series. So I haven't really delved outside of her contemporary romances other than this one, but I highly recommend it. It's really good. I am hoping, I didn't put it on my spooky TBR because I don't know if I'll actually get to it, but I would definitely like to continue the series because it's really good. I know that there is a spin-off sequel that follows, I think, her best friend or something in this book. It's like called Night Wolf or something like that. So I'm very excited about that. So highly recommend. So those are all of my recommendations for this week for Scream for Romance. I really hope you found at least one book that you haven't read yet. Let me know if you have any recommendations. As always, I am always looking for new books to read. So definitely let me know, especially with paranormal. I feel like, yes, it is my first love, but I don't really see many recommendations from anybody. Maybe it's just a genre that isn't as prevalent, or maybe I just don't see them. That's definitely a possibility. But if you have any paranormal recommendations, definitely let me know, because like I said, it's my first love. I grew up reading Twilight, and that's a big reason why I do read nowadays. So of course, naturally, I love vampires and stuff. So if you have any recommendations, please leave them down below. I am so excited you guys got to check out my recommendations. Like I said, I've been having so much fun with these different prompts, but I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.